and welcome back to Bump Love. Now, every parent's wish is to have a perfectly healthy, normal child. Our guest today tells a story of receiving some very challenging news soon after the birth of her son. Sarah Nsubuga is our guest today, and she's married to Arthur Nsubuga. Together they have 4 children, and she is a stay-at-home mom. Today we hear this heart-wrenching story shared by none other than Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We have been meaning to talk to you for a while now because when we heard your story, we were like, man. Yeah, and like I said, that every parent's wish is to have a perfectly healthy child. Now, your son was diagnosed with a condition. He's called Muganzi, right? Can you describe to us what the diagnosis was and what the doctors anticipated would happen to him as he grew older? Yeah.
So he had what they call in the medical field a ventricular septal defect. Fancy words to mean a hole in the heart, which means the hole was in the ventricle. Remember your biology? The hole was in the ventricle.
And the right.
Yes. So the hole was in the ventricle, so the blood would, move from once oxygenated and deoxygenated. Yes. So his heart was working hard. They when they saw it, they said it was a moderately sized hole. So it wasn't small, but it wasn't big. And they hoped that it would close. But as time went on, there are indicators to show you that the child is progressing well. We thought that there was a valve that was going to close it, but he wasn't gaining weight. So a child usually gains about a kilo or so, or just like less a month. He was gaining 100 grams.
Whoa.
So he was born at 2.9 by the time, 2.9 kilograms. By the time he was 4 months, he was 4 kilos.
What?
So
that's how heavy some babies are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was very small.
Okay.
But he was hitting his milestones, but his weight was not, because he would feed a lot and the heart would work a lot and he would sweat a lot, and he just wasn't putting on the weight. And then they heard that his lungs were not, that something in his lungs was not working well. So there was all that, there are so many things.
Issues.
And on top of that, the way we found out, it's when he was 4 days old, he was not passing stool properly. He was squeezing and crying, and I was like, what's happening? And so we went to the doctor at 4 days, and the doctor just did a general check, just a general check, and that's how he had the heart. And he said, let's go to a pediatric cardiologist, and 2 weeks is when he was diagnosed with VSD. And my life stopped.
I can imagine.
Just listen to the story. I feel like my life stopped.
Because you've heard of holes in the heart, and now
your child
has a hole, and you're like, and at first it was like, okay, he's going to be okay. They tell you things to look out for. Look out for blue lips. So I would be
constantly look at
blue lips. The breathing. Then they would say, then one time they said, don't let him get a cold. And I went back home, and my firstborn was coughing. I said, no.
And we are finished from
the painful, right?
I said, no, what are we going to do? And I asked, why can't he get a cold? He said, because he gets a cold very quickly, it can become pneumonia, and then an infection in the heart, and then
we know what will happen after.
That is definitely every parent's nightmare, I'm sure. If you can just share with us how you and your husband received the news, and how it impacted the wider family, because I'm sure your mom was also concerned. Yeah.
Actually, my mom was in the room with us when they gave us the news. So the doctor was measuring a lot of things. We went to the cardiologist, and he said, I remember his words. He said he stopped everything, put everything away, and then he turned to me and said, Mama, the baby has a hole in the heart. And
silence, like everything.
The world just stood still. I said, no. What does that even mean? And then as he kept on speaking, because of course he was telling me what to look out for and all this. And I said, okay, let me first stop thinking about what he has just told me and listen to what he's saying, because it's information I need. My husband, he said, when he told us, I said, what is happening? What is this? But then I said, okay, but God is in control. He's sovereign. I took a little longer to get to that point.
Of course.
So for the next maybe 4 days, I was constantly afraid that the boy was going to die in his sleep. So I was looking out for the blue lips. I was looking at the breathing. I was so, and then I was like, but God, now why? This is my first son. Why? And after 4 days, I remember just praying, and I was reminded that worrying is not doing anything. It's not going to close the hole. It's not. And I love babies at that, especially 0 to 6 months. That's my favorite time. So I was missing. So I was missing these times. I was not going to get these days back because I'm worried about, the hole in the heart. So I said, okay, I can't close the hole. Who can? God. Okay, so now let me leave it with him. And for now, I don't know how much time I have with this child. And I seriously thought about that. I said, I don't know how much time I have with him. He could be gone soon. Let me enjoy him. So after that, it was, I'm going to enjoy this child. I'm going to enjoy him. And he was such a wonderful baby. He wasn't a crybaby. He was very sweet, very cute, calm. He was so I enjoyed him. The wider family, I mean my cousins, everyone is. I have a family that loves my children, and I'm really grateful. So they were all. My dad, up to now, he has a special bond with my son. He doesn't call him Muganzi. He calls him Mr. Muganzi. They have that. They're actually best friends. They call each other best friends. So they were all on tiptoes. It was, this boy, everyone was praying, and then everyone was, of course, trying to be careful what they say to me. Trying to encourage, but also not trying to scare, but so all that. But it was a time for me to look to God and say, I can't do anything. My worrying is not helping at all. The hole remains.
So yes, clearly, I know you're a very spiritual and faithful person. You really do believe that your God performs miracles. But based on the doctor's recommendation, you had to travel to India for surgery. So can you take us through how you went about raising the money? Because I know you had to get that done immediately. And then you also had your other children to worry about. You had your family to worry about. So how did you do that whole dance, that juggle of dealing with this one child who needs your utmost attention, but also dealing with his other children, and then going about looking for funding to train?
It was, first of all, let me say that I'm a stay-home mother, not because we are rich. People think that rich,
the rich ones,
you can just sit home and the money is there. That's not like that. And my husband is a consultant. He does he's not employed in a regular job. So that time found us really hard up on money. I remember the doctor telling us that we needed to go for surgery in India, and because here he was too small. They can perform as the surgery, but he was too small. They didn't have, the equipment to work on him. So
it was one of those things where they would say, no, he has to grow a little bit.
Yes, he has to put on weight. He needs to be a certain weight for them to work here, if he can. Exactly. So when he told us, we said, how much is the surgery? And he said, just the surgery, without accommodation, transport, it was $10,000. And I remember we had 10,000 shillings between us. I said, okay. But at the same time, there was a sense of peace. I can't explain it, because it was like, okay, now there's something we can do even though we don't have, there's something that we can do. So we went home and we decided, because you hear, when growing up out here, car washes, all sorts of things to raise money for people with holes in the heart. And my husband was like, we're not going to ask people for money. I said, now this man, where does he get so good to get this money? No, actually, yeah, but it wasn't pride, because he told me. But it wasn't pride, because he told me, I feel convicted not to ask for money, that the Lord will provide. And I said, Banange, this is how my son dies. But a friend of mine called me from the US, and she said she wants to start a GoFundMe. I said, no. Then she said, no, but because people here, I want to fundraise here in the US, and it's easier, to do it in GoFundMe. I said, okay, you go ahead. So she started the GoFundMe. Interestingly, because she's Ugandan, she put it up on Facebook, and people here saw it. So when they saw it, I started getting calls, and people started sharing my number and sending me money. I remember I didn't look at my phone from about 8 a.m. to about midday. And by the time I looked at my phone, I had so much money on my phone. I said,
where is this money from?
Even people who didn't know me, and people send 5,000, 10,000, but it was doing a lot. It does a lot. And so in 10 days, we had raised $30,000.
What?
In 10 days.
Me too.
In 10 days. And it was good. So my husband would say, see?
I know her.
You know her,
her family. And she was very close to my sister. We used to be one of the children. And when I saw that GoFundMe page, I was like, but I know this people. How can they have this problem? But you were motivated to give. You had to. Like a good I was in a WhatsApp group. And people said, you guys, nobody knew them.
Can you?
Yeah, I was the only one who knew that family. But people were advocating.
It was amazing. I'm telling you, it was. For me, that's my reminder that God loves me, because I know, that God, God loves you. God loves you. He cares you. But the whole process was my reminder. So what I look back to say, God actually showed me, I care. I care about you. And juggling with the other children, I do feel like it was, I abandoned, especially my second born, just a little. Not ignored, not abandoned, because she was 2, and she's quiet. She's not the kind to demand for attention. But the help that I had from my wider family, especially my parents, my husband calls them our assistant parents, because they really do take on the role. That was very helpful to say that, I have this problem, but I have people that I trust, that I can leave my children with, who will continue to, do what I would have done. Like my mom is very respectful of as the schedule that children have. So even when they go to her home, they stick to their schedule. Everyone else will do whatever they want, but the children's schedule remains: the time they bathe, the time they eat, all that. And that was very helpful in helping me, because then I didn't have to worry. You're in the middle of house helps and all these things. That was very helpful with the extended family.
So I feel that, since it happened, it's been a while. I don't know if you've been on TV before talking about this, but I don't know if you want to say anything to those people that who took the time or took of their resources to send money, and if you have something to say to them.
I do. I don't. First of all, thank you, but I feel like thank you is it's not enough, because people actually went out of their way. And I remember someone calling me and telling me, I have very little. I said, I have nothing. And you've given me, it's fine. Whatever little, I have nothing. So I can't give myself.
Right.
So thank you for giving, because it changed so much. I don't know if my son would be alive if that had not happened.
How old is he now?
He's now 5.
Wow.
A very handsome young man. And very talkative and very full of ideas. So I think anyone who took whatever you had to give to Muganzi being well, thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You may have an idea of what you did, but you really
But
don't. Don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Only you would.
Yeah.
Wow, Sarah. I mean, I feel like we are off to a tear-jacking. I was watching a preacher recently, and he was saying how, you know, if we're really being honest, we really do care about ourselves as individuals. We are innately selfish. We want our own interests. We take care of our own, our family. But for people to come out of that and give towards, a lot of people didn't even know who he was or who Muganzi was. And plus, I also remember, I think it happened at a time where there were so many fundraisers.
There were.
So many. There were so many car washes. This one has cancer. This one has a kidney issue. This one, you know. But for people to give in such a short amount of time is nothing short of a miracle. So thank you again to everyone that gave. On the next episode, we are going to get into how Muganzi recovered. You've heard that he's actually 5 years old. He's healthy. He's strong. And we want to hear what the recovery process was, because I imagine even after surgery, it wasn't just, okay, surgery and now we are, we are okay. There's a lot of things that went into his post-care. So we'll hear more about that. Do join us in our next episode of Bump Love. Until next time, with love from Bump Love.